The family of a Boeing whistleblower who died by suicide last year is suing the aircraft manufacturer for wrongful death. John Barnett shot himself outside a South Carolina hotel after testifying that Boeing was returning its aircraft to the skies too quickly and was not properly ensuring that the planes were safe. The lawsuit claims that Barnett was retaliated against by management for following regulations. The filing also claims that over a combined 16-hour period, one manager called Barnett a total of 40 times, allegedly saying, quote, "I'm going to push you until you break." Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes joins us now. Khalif, proving an alleged problem here in the workplace, this big, it's not an easy thing here for the legal team, is it?
This is obviously like a David versus Goliath type of thing where you have this individual that was already a whistleblower, that's already had a Netflix documentary that detailed and talked about the things that he alleged against a company, second largest manufacturer of airplanes in the world. And so you're going against the biggest of the biggest when you talk about this type of fight. But I think the facts are there on their side for this claim. Think about it. When we're talking about wrongful death, it's, as I've always mentioned before, it's the A, B, C, Ds of a negligence claim. A, duty, A, breach, causation, and damages. Damages, we start there with the death. It's the worst kind of damage that you could talk about. So we can say that that's something that happened. We can say duty. Do you have a duty to protect your workplace employees from some type of retaliations? Yes, you can point to those type having a duty. Well, did you breach that duty? Well, if you make comments like this, like I'm going to push you, and as they say further, I'm going to push you, and then they ultimately say they believe that they did push him to break. So those are the things that you would say was duty, breach. And then the last one is causation. That's always the hardest. Did my actual statements, did my comments, did the things that I do to make your job harder, retaliating against you for being a whistleblower, is that the proximate cause? But for us doing that, basically, would you have not had this PTSD? Would you have not caused yourself to inflict this harm on yourself? That's going to be the hardest one, like it is in any type of case. Can we point to proximate cause, and is it but for my actions? That's always a 50-50.
But that last piece, it does talk about earlier with Barnett talking about how the retaliatory 40 times calls, those can be proved in court, correct?
100%. I mean, you got phone records, you got text messages, so you have those types of things. And then even if that is just not enough, you can say most of the time these cases will say, all right, well, you can say you had some stress, you've had some type of anxiety. There may have been some harassment. And okay, even if you were seeking some type of treatment, if you're checking all those boxes, kind of an adding on to your claim, right? But then you want to have some physical manifestations. So not only were they stressing me out, not only were they texting me, not only was I not getting any sleep, but they were also telling me at the job that I had to go faster, work harder, disregard regulations, don't document notes when you're supposed to, finding ways to do more with less is what he was alleging the entire time while skirting all of the rules. That's the allegations that he made. So all of those things, if they're now physically manifesting something more than just me saying I'm concerned, but now I can't sleep, I'm having nightmares, I'm waking up, I've went through some traumatic situation, hence the PTSD. Now you have a claim, and I believe there is going to be support when looking at the complaint for those type of things to be alleged in this law.
You mentioned notes, but notes of a different kind. The apparent suicide note mentioning Boeing became a big issue with Barnett's lawyers. Is that taken into consideration in these cases?
I think it would be, but I mean, first of all, if you're representing Boeing, the first thing you're doing is going to want that to be excluded. You're going to say they'll be more prejudicial than probative, and that's one of the rules of evidence, to be able to get something excluded from being presented to the jury. I mean, we already know this information is out there, but can it get into the jury's hands? Are they going to be able to use that and examine that when they're making their determination of a liability? That's something that the court will have to determine, and they will have a number of pretrial hearings to determine if something like that letter can come in there. I looked at a couple of things that he wrote in the letter, specifically that Boeing has pushed me here, that I tried, and now I hope that these folks, recognize that they led me to this. So that's more to that culpability. That's more to that C portion of the duty, breach, and causation that I talk about. That will go to underscore that. So if I'm on the other side, I don't want that type of letter coming in at all.
Yeah, and John Barnett, to be clear here, he worked at the South Carolina plant here for the Boeing Dreamliner and the production there. And I remember living in Seattle and talking with a number of machinist union people in Seattle. They always talk about the problems that they had down in South Carolina with the workforce issues and the quality control. So there are those issues that are already out there. But totality for the workforce, for a whistleblower complaint, what does this do when you have somebody who commits suicide like this going forward and damaging your gather your whistleblower cases and people who are trying to do good and come out.
You got to think about it, because the whistleblower case is something all within itself. You already have to talk about the underlying issues that I recognize as I'm an employee here, that there are some problems. And they're not talking about, making pencils or pens. You're talking about making airplanes that people are trusting when you put them in the air, that it's going to be safe, that it's going to protect them. And so when you have allegations of shortcutting rules and regulations, you're carrying that with you. And so that was the main part that Barnett was saying is, hey, we can't do this in this regard. We can't force this. We can't rush this. We can't self-check our work, because that's one of the allegations. They were telling them, just self-check your work. We don't need anyone else to come behind and look at it. Well, he's saying, well, that's something that we shouldn't be doing. So then if you have the strength to come forward as a whistleblower and they're saying, you know what, I think this is wrong, and I want folks to recognize this is wrong. Well, normally those things spark congressional hearings, and that situation did spark a congressional hearing. But now, holding the weight of what that means to go against a David versus Goliath type of situation, that secondary effects is hard. And that is, to your point, something that would discourage someone from coming forward later, because maybe they think that would happen to him could happen to me.
Yeah, you're talking about the congressional hearing that was subsequent after the two crashes from the 737 MAX that happened, and then he grounded those planes, and that's what's really started all this Boeing investigation.
I mean, he kick-started this entire investigation. I mean, now, let's be clear, you need whistleblowers in situations like this, because most of the time you would never know what's happening, let's say for a person that's in there on a day-to-day basis that can explain what's happening on this.
Where do you think this case goes?
I look at it as a settle. I mean, at the end of the day, it settles, and it doesn't settle instantly. You'll have the discovery. You'll have interrogatories, depositions. You'll have a fact-finding process where both sides will turn over information. But ultimately, I think there's enough things here for if you're walking through a normal tort claim, for Boeing to want something like this to go away sooner than later.
Mm-hmm. And Boeing has certainly been hit. It's one of those companies that you need when you get the airplanes that are traveling in the sky, not just in the United States, but all over the world.
All over the world.
Right? Yeah. All right, Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes, thanks.